Welcome, and thank you so much for giving me the chance to talk about strengths, Clifton's strengths that I love and enjoy so much. How Clifton's strengths and the positive psychology movement started was in the 1960s. A bunch of psychologists wanted to do some research to find out how to help children to increase their reading speed. And what they found out is it didn't really matter what method they used to help them increase their reading speed, but it mattered very much. What they found at the end of it is they found that the children, everybody used the same, they gave them the same methods. Let's try this one and then that one. So there were about 6,000 children in this sort of research that they did. At the end of it, they found that everybody used the same ones, and it didn't matter which one they used, but the children who started out with an average of 90 words a minute increased to 150 words a minute, and that is an increase of about 60%. But the kids who were already fast started at 350 words a minute, and they increased through these methods to 2,900 words a minute, and that's an increase of 728%. So that's a massive increase. And they thought to themselves, the researchers, well, we've got to do something with this incredible, this fascinating discovery that they didn't expect. So they started saying, well, what if we start looking at people through the lens of what's already strong in them and how can we improve on that, rather than what is weak and what do we need to fix? Because it took the children the same length of time to increase by 728% rather than by 60%. So they figured out that there's something really huge in this and they needed to make more of it. And that's how strengths and the positive psychology movement started. So a bit about, I'm going to just talk through a few principles that really help us to understand why it's a great thing to find out about our strengths through Clifton's strengths. Is we are like the fish in the water with our strengths. It's so normal for a fish to swim in the water that it doesn't know the water is there anymore. It's like for people, we breathe air all the time and we just don't know about it because it's so normal for us. It's in the background, it's there all the time, we come to expect it. So we all like that with our strengths as well. We don't know that we have these special gifts because it's normal. We just act that way and we think it's nothing special. So we tend to devalue or not even notice that there are things that are super easy for us that come without any effort, that may be really, really hard for other people. And that is why it's a good thing to really find out exactly what your strengths are, because we tend to discount the things that are easy for us. We think, oh, it's just that little thing that I do. And I've heard this so many times from the clients that I work with. Another principle that is amazing about Clifton's strengths is it tells us how unique we are. It doesn't put us in a box, like this quote of Oscar Wilde that I love so much is, be yourself, everyone else is already taken. But how do we do that if we think we need to be like everybody else? So Clifton's strengths are, you can either do your top 5 or your full 34 list. And in your top 5, the chance that somebody else has your top 5 in a random order is 1 in 280,000. But if we take your top 5 in that exact order that comes out in your assessment, the chance of anybody else having that exact order is 1 in 33.9 million. So that is a massive, massive indication of the uniqueness of the combination of your strengths. And then we've only talked about your top 5. We haven't even mentioned the other 34. We haven't mentioned your upbringing, your background, your values, the things that are important to you, your beliefs, and your skills, knowledge, and experience, all of that. So it really helps us to understand we are incredibly unique. And if we're not ourselves, the world loses something that can never be given in any other format. And I'll share a quote with you at the end that helps me to understand that. So just a little bit of an overview is the strengths come in 4 different groups or themes or clusters. So there's executing strengths, that's the way that we get things done. Then there are influencing strengths that I see mostly more so in extroverts, like it's people who can take charge in groups and they love and enjoy being in groups and get things moving. And then there are relational talents that are the people that keep everyone working together and like the glue, helping people to work together beautifully. And then there are thinking strengths. Now, the fact is, you may have been comparing yourself with somebody else, say, that can get a lot done, like our wonderful George over here. I used to think, well, gee whiz, if only I could do as much as George, or even captain in our group that has a lot of executing strengths, and they function well that way. It just comes very, very easily to them. And we can't necessarily do the same thing. It may be that you have a lot of talent in one of the other groups, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with us being different from somebody else. In fact, the next slide tells us that your biggest difference from me is your biggest service to me. Or another way to say it is, difference is not wrong, difference is strong. So we need each other more than we can possibly realize, because we simply cannot all be the same. And this is where it comes in, how we can help each other to function well. The bigger picture about strengths is that I mentioned already, you can do your top 5, or you can have your full list of 34. So what's the difference? With your top 5, it tells us your signature strengths, the youest you, the top 5. When we see your full list of 34, it gives us 3 buckets. It's the strong bucket, and if you sit at the desk, it's the things that are like your keyboard, your screen, your mouse, all the things that are in close reach and that come easily to you. It's energizing, it's very easy to use, and there's just no effort involved. And then the middle bucket, so the top 10 to 12 is that strong bucket. Then the middle bucket is, we call them, it's like in the drawers of your desk. You have to go into the drawer and pull the drawer open to see what's inside. So it takes a little bit more effort, but it's still accessible. It's by you. You can use them. So that's what the middle bucket of strengths are, maybe from about 12 up to about 28 or so. And then the bottom bucket, the bottom 5 to 8 in the full list of 34, is what we call your draining. They are draining. We call it actually your non-patterns. It's not the way that your brain works. And it's like in the waste paper basket over there in the corner of the room. We've scrunched up a ball of paper that we didn't want. We threw it in the waste paper basket, and it's like heavy. We have to open that piece of paper and try and make it flat. It uses our energy. It's very hard to use the bottom strengths. And it's not that we can't use them, but we need to find ways to manage around it. So that's the bigger picture, and why it's really amazing to know the full list as opposed to just top 5. So it gives us a full picture of how we function in life and what's the best use of our energy. So another principle about strengths is we can use our talents well by managing them well, and then they become a strength, or we can mismanage them. And it's like the conductor of an orchestra. Our top 10 to 12 strengths are there by default. That we don't have to think about them. They just flow for us. It's easy, it's inspiring, it's creative. However, it can be like an orchestra member that plays too loudly when it's supposed to play soft. So it can sort of take over and hijack us. And that can happen with our strengths. So we need to learn to manage them well. Otherwise, they can become a detriment. If we mismanage them, it's like, the orchestra member that is like the trumpet that's playing way too loudly and nobody else gets a chance. So we need to conduct our orchestra of talents in a well-managed way for it to really help us. So here's some benefits that I've found for people who find out their strengths. Is their relationships can improve, their work life can improve, and they have increased confidence. So relationships improve because we understand ourselves better and the self-blame stops. So we stop the comparison game. And then also we understand other people better when we realize that maybe what's easy for me that I expect of that person is really draining and really hard for them. So I can just have some more compassion for myself and for others. And how our work life can improve is we can stop expecting of ourselves to do something in the way that somebody else finds really, really easy. And then we can manage around that and get others to help us, or we can learn skills to help us increase effectiveness in those bottom skills. It may never become easy or enjoyable, but we can learn to manage around it. And it can help us understand why there are certain things that's just not going to work in our work life. Like if you're a person who wants to, let me think of a good example. I can't think of one right now, so let me just continue.
How
But
about spreadsheets?
for sure, there's certain talents that will do much better with lists of things and going according to the plan and filling in things and having facts and data and spreadsheets, like analytical, making plans and sticking to the plan, going according to the plan and following policies and procedures. And those things are usually done in spreadsheets. So somebody who does not have talents that increase their joy to use spreadsheets is going to find it very hard to run their business that way. So we need to find ways that work for us, that energize us. And when you know your talents, you will not make the mistake of trying to force yourself to do something a certain way. So we all need different ways. And that's the uniqueness of this. And so here's just a quote that I find absolutely amazing that reminds me so much. It's from Martha Graham. And she's the mother of modern dance and ballet. She was a choreographer. So she says, there is a vitality, a life force, a quickening that is translated through you into action. And there is only one of you in all time. This expression is unique. And if you block it, it will never exist through any other medium and it will be lost. The world will not have it. It is not your business to determine how good it is, not your business to see how it compares with other expression. It is your business to keep this channel yours, clearly and directly, to keep the channel open. Thank you very much for your time and attention, and I welcome any questions you can ask in the group, because I know we've reached the end of our time. Thank you.